Today, I'd like to talk about valleys and peaks and plains in our lives. And so maybe you were to say, Pastor, can you give us an example of a valley and a peak? I would say, sure. On Friday and Saturday, the weather was a peak. And today, it's a valley. The valley is the ugly parts of life, the deep down, disgusting places where snow accumulates in Texas. I know some of you are from the north, and you're like, oh, I miss snow. Sorry. So peaks and valleys. But so we have peaks in life and we have valleys in life, but that doesn't represent a whole lot of our lives. We spend most of our lives on the plains of life, the level places in life, the everyday normal lives that we live. But I think that we can live a life in such a way that we experience more peaks and less valleys. Because a lot of the valley, we just really can't control that. It's part of life. Loss is part of life. But I think we can control having more peaks in life by the way we live. And I think one of the ways we do that is by having rich, deep relationships. I went out to dinner with Michelle Friday night. We had a little bit of a date night, and we were at a restaurant, and we're sitting there, and over Michelle's shoulder is this father who's there with his wife and probably 13-year-old son. And this father caught my attention because he was so into what his son was saying. He was just completely, utterly present, and his sole focus was on his son. And they were having this conversation, the father was laughing, and every time he stopped for the son to speak, he was looking at him with this look of love and pride, and he was just smiling as his son would speak, and he would laugh, and it was just this beautiful thing for me to witness, that this father was so into what his son was saying, and how those good relationships don't happen by accident. And how this father was really into what his child was saying. And I thought, wow, that is so cool. And then I looked to the left, and there was a mother there with her two sons, probably 9 and 13, and they were both doing this, right? And I don't mean to judge her, because 2 weeks ago we were in Atlanta, and we took my nephews out to eat, and we just gave them all our iPhones because we wanted to eat in peace. And I just thought about, and so I'm there in a restaurant thinking about this. Oh, wow, this would make a great sermon image. And then I look at Michelle, and she has this look on her face like, you're writing your sermon, aren't you? And then I realized that I wasn't being a very good husband at that moment, so I have no right to judge. But the look on this man's face is just something that will always stay with me. He was just so completely present and focused on his son, and I thought, what a great gift that he's giving his son. His attention and his love. His son is telling a story about something that happened in school or something, I don't know what he's even telling him about. But this look on the man's face was just, I just want to hear everything you have to say. But wow, how great is that? And so that's one of the ways where you can have more peaks in life, is to have deep, meaningful relationships with everybody around you. One thing I think that for me in the past year that I've experienced is setting goals for yourself. Set goals for yourself that are attainable. So last year I set a goal for myself. It's kind of childish. It may be high school-ish, but it was something I wanted to do. When I was 14 years old, I made a goal to bench press 300 pounds. And I got to like 245 in high school and just kind of stopped. And just had never done it again. And then last year I said, you know what? Valley. I said, I want to do this. I want to bench press 300 pounds. I said, I want to do it. And I did it. And for 8 months, I'd go to the gym 3 times a week. And I'd walk right past the treadmills and right past the ellipticals and go straight to the bench. But I wanted to do it. And I was keeping up with some of you saw on Facebook. And eventually in November, I bench pressed 300 pounds. And then Chad Nelson, who's not here this week, was spotting me. And he said, let's try 305. And I did 305, and I was so excited. It was like this moment, because when you set a goal like that and you achieve it, it's a powerful moment to actually, I set a goal and I accomplished it. And I haven't been back since. But it's time for a new goal. But I feel strong. Set a goal, accomplish it. It's a peak in your life. A lot of peaks in life don't happen by accident. Skylar, you're getting married in a couple of months to Mary, who isn't here today. Where is she? At home. Okay. That's going to be a peak day in your life, a day that you'll always remember, but a day that doesn't happen by accident. The peaks in our life don't happen by accident. It's something that we actually have to go out and do. And so I encourage you to go out and to find ways to deepen relationships, set goals for yourself, find peaks in life, and find peaks in your relationship with God. Moses goes to a mountain to meet God because that's where God lived. Our psalm today says that God lives on Mount Zion, and I have set my king up on the mountain. And so the people back then believed that God lived on a mountain, or that God lived in the clouds, and you had to climb a mountain to get as close to God as possible. So Moses went up to God to get the law. Moses went up a few weeks later because he was so angry he had broken the tablets. Moses, whenever he talked to God, and whenever God talked to him, other than the burning bush, he was up on top of a mountain. And so then we have this story in the gospel today where Jesus takes a few of his disciples and goes up on top of a mountain to experience God. And he's transfigured before them. And then the voice of God says, "This is my son with whom I'm, my beloved, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." Jesus, what does he say to his disciples? Don't tell anybody about this until after I'm risen from the dead. One of the reasons Jesus went up on that mountain was to experience God and to get courage to go and face the cross. Because Jesus walks down the mountain, walks immediately to Jerusalem, and goes to the cross. So Moses goes up on a mountain to find God for guidance, for law. How should we live as your people? Jesus goes up on top of the mountain for courage. What is it that you call me to do? Where do we find God? How can we work on our relationship with God so that we can find courage, so that we can find guidance? I think this thing we're doing in Lent, is there an actual title for it? The coin jar. We'll call it the coin jar. Is a great way, counting your blessings. All right, that's a good one. It's a great way for us to find and experience God in our lives. And so I encourage you all to do it. So it's in your bulletin, the calendar. And, I understand that some of us, have more time than others, and some of us have more money than others. I think it's an important thing for us to do, to have this jar out and to count our sinks and to count our toilets and to count our TVs and to count the things in life. And if it's just a penny you put in, it's just a penny. If it's a dime, if it's a nickel, it's a quarter, whatever it is to put in there. Because when you're doing so, you're really realizing how much you have been blessed and the things that you have that other people don't have. And to see God's presence in your life by the things that you have and by the comforts that you have that other people around the world don't have. To experience God in ways that you've never imagined before because you've never really thought that your sink was a gift from God until you go somewhere else where they don't have sinks. And you think, wow, how convenient is it that I can just turn up a nozzle and I have water? When other people are walking 5 miles a day with baskets and gallons and jugs and carrying them on their heads just to have running water. And to think about how that is a gift from God. How water itself is a gift from God. The ability to have something in our house that we can drink, that gives us life, that gives us energy, that cleans out our body. What a gift that we have that in our house. And so these things we can do. Maybe you don't want to do that, and that's okay. We're not forcing anybody to do it, obviously. We just think it'd be cool if everyone did. And on Easter Sunday, just put all these coins together and send them, well, probably count them and then send a check to World Hunger. But either way, it's going to be cool. Maybe that's not going to work for you. Maybe reading the Bible each day during Lent is something you can do that would help you experience God. But I know that a lot of you like to give up something for Lent. And I encourage you to do that. And if you do give up something, whenever you crave it, just think about how you're experiencing God through giving up something. But it's important to experience God in Lent. And that's what I would encourage you to do, because God is there for you to experience, to grow into a deep relationship with God. Because there are valleys in life. And the valleys will come. And there's nothing we can do to stop them. I don't know what's going to happen with Russia and Ukraine and the United States and everyone else. I don't know what that's going to look like. All the news that I'm reading sounds like it could be a bad thing. I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like a valley is coming for a lot of people in America. I know that we all have valleys in our life that we have caused when we've hurt people we've loved. Loneliness and hurt that we experience because of our own actions. Valleys are all around us. Some are our fault, others just happen and there's nothing we can do about it. But that's why Jesus climbed down a mountain and climbed on a cross. Jesus climbed on a cross to fix a broken world. Jesus climbed on a cross to save us from ourselves. Jesus climbed on a cross because love wins in the end. And so while I don't know what the future is going to look like, I'm not afraid, because I know God is with me and God is with us. And that's more powerful than any weapon this world can yield. Amen.